Then Aaron bangs one off the left field wall that sends Matthews charging home ahead of the throw.
Imagine a player who grew up poor, who made bats out of scrap wood and practiced on bottle caps. A player who would challenge Babe Ruth himself and break a record that was considered eternal. But with every hit, he faced not only a ball flying out of the stadium, but also hatred, threats, and racism. Hank Aaron became a symbol of resilience. A man who not only hit 755 home runs, but rewrote baseball history and proved that no walls can stop a dream. Hank Aaron was born in 1934 in Mobile, Alabama. His family lived very modestly. His father worked in a shipyard, his mother was a housewife, and the house had only a few rooms for all the children. Times were hard. The Great Depression was still reverberating in the southern states, and racial segregation made life especially difficult for African Americans. Since childhood, Hank dreamed of baseball, but the family did not have money for equipment. He made his first bats from scraps of wood and used bottle caps or rolled up rags as balls. And yet his eyes lit up when he went out into the yard and practiced his swing over and over again. Aaron grew up a shy boy, but he revealed himself completely in the game. He played in vacant lots with the neighborhood kids, and even then it was clear that he had a special gift: reaction speed, dexterity, and incredible arm strength. Even when he did not have a real ball, he practiced hitting bottle caps as if it was the World Series final. During his school years, baseball became his main passion. But in the conditions of segregation, he almost had no chance to break into the official teams of white players. However, Aaron did not give up. He continued to train, played wherever possible, and waited for his chance. His childhood was filled with poverty and hardship, but it was these that tempered his character. There, in the American South, under the hot Alabama sun, a legend was born that would one day change the history of baseball itself. In the late 1940s, when Hank was just over 15, he began trying out for school and semi-professional teams. Even then, he was noticed. The power of his hit, speed, and amazing technique distinguished him from his peers. But the path to his dream was far from simple. At that time, the road to the big league was almost closed for black players. The turning point was when Jackie Robinson broke the barrier in 1947, becoming the first African American in the MLB. This event changed the fates of thousands of young players, and Hank Aaron was among them. Now he had a chance, albeit a ghostly one. In his youth, Hank played for the Mobile Blackbirds and then the Indianapolis Claws of the Negro League. It was a school of courage. The games were played in modest stadiums. The conditions were far from the glamour of the MLB, but it was there that Aaron forged his character. He faced racism, long journeys, and a constant struggle for a place on the roster. In 1952, he was noticed by scouts of the Boston Braves. Hank was invited to the team system, and for the young man, this was the beginning of a new life. For the first time, he found himself at the professional level where every game was a test. He quickly proved that his hitting was not a fluke. His batting average was impressive, and his calmness on the field commanded respect even from the strictest coaches. 2 years later, in 1954, Hank Aaron made his MLB debut for the Milwaukee Braves. It was the moment he had been waiting for since childhood. He now stood in a line with Poles, Italians, Irish, and African Americans, stepping onto the field in a big league uniform. And although his first steps were accompanied by mistakes and excitement, it was already clear baseball had a new player who could leave a mark on history. Hank Aaron's MLB debut in 1954 was not the easiest. He came on as a replacement for an injured player and had to prove that he could play at the level of the big stars. At first, his hitting was inconsistent. He often made mistakes and was nervous. But after a few months, it was clear. The Milwaukee Braves had a special player. Aaron had an unusual hitting style. Unlike many powerful hitters, he did not swing with a sweeping swing. His movement was short, fast, and precise, like a shot. Coaches said that this was where his strength lay. He did not waste energy and knew how to take out the ball at the right moment. It seemed that he had some kind of inner sense of timing that allowed him to strike at exactly the split second when needed. In his first full season, he knocked out 13 home runs, but by the end of the 50s, Aaron had become one of the most dangerous hitters in the league. He was consistently among the leaders in the number of runs knocked out. His average was high, and his strength and technique made him a nightmare for pitchers. In 1957, Hank Aaron led the Milwaukee Braves to the top. His hitting and leadership allowed the team to win the World Series, where they defeated the legendary New York Yankees. In the decisive game, he knocked out a home run that went down in the history of the club. Then he won the title of the league's most valuable player, an award that forever cemented him among the best. But it wasn't just about the statistics. Aaron played with amazing consistency. Unlike many stars who had slumps, he showed a high level year after year. They called him Hammering Hank, because he was like a machine, one strike after another. In 10 years, he was already an MLB superstar. He was listed in newspapers next to Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. But he was different from them. He was modest, reserved, did not like big words and a show around himself. For him, baseball was a job that he did with maximum dedication. And yet behind his modesty, there was incredible strength and a desire to prove to the world that he was worthy of the greatest. It was during these years that the main intrigue of his career was born. Whether he would be able to catch up and surpass Babe Ruth's record for the number of home runs. In the 60s, Hank Aaron was already a recognized baseball star. His name was on par with the best. His statistics were striking in their stability. He went out on the field season after season and, as if without effort, knocked out 30 to 40 home runs. And the closer he got to the top, the clearer it became. It was he who would have to challenge Babe Ruth himself. Ruth set his record of 714 home runs back in the 20s and 30s, and for a long time it seemed that this figure was untouchable. It stood as a symbol, as a monument in the history of baseball. But Aaron's hits gradually began to destroy this myth. Each new season brought him closer to the great figure. At first, the newspapers wrote about it cautiously, then louder. By the end of the 60s, it became clear. Hammerin' Hank was following in Ruth's own footsteps. But with this came pressure. America was still a country divided by skin color, and not everyone was ready to accept the fact that an African American would surpass the record of a white idol of millions. Aaron began to receive threatening letters, some of which were openly malicious and racist. He read lines like, "Don't you dare break Ruth's record, otherwise," and yet he went out on the field again and again. With each passing week, the tension grew. Reporters followed his every outing. Spectators gathered in stadiums in anticipation of a historic hit. And Aaron himself, as always, remained calm. He didn't like to talk about records, didn't seek attention. He just did his job, and did it better than anyone else. In the early 70s, the number began to inexorably approach. 650, 680, 700. America froze. The baseball world understood. A little more, and what was considered eternal would fall. The date is April 8, 1974. Atlanta, Fulton County Stadium. More than 50,000 spectators are in the stands. The atmosphere is electric. Everyone knew that today something historic could happen. Hank Aaron was just one home run away from surpassing Babe Ruth. Al Downing, pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, was standing on the mound. The tension was so intense that even the TV commentators were whispering. All of America was watching every move. Some were praying that Aaron couldn't do it, others that he would finally do it. Hank missed the first pitch. He fouled the second, and then the third pitch. Downing throws. Aaron makes a short, almost imperceptible swing, and the bat meets the ball perfectly. There is a loud crack of wood, and the white ball flies high into left field. The stands explode. The fans jump up, the roar fills the stadium. The ball flies over the fence, and at that moment, history changes forever. Home run 715. Aaron calmly, without unnecessary emotions, begins his circle around the bases. But madness is happening around. Two fans run onto the field and run next to him, as if guarding him at this moment. Security rushes toward them, but Aaron remains unperturbed. He reaches the house and is met with a storm of applause. The scoreboard flashes the numbers. 715. The crowd screams. The announcers almost lose their voices, and millions of viewers watching on TV understand that they have witnessed the fall of the greatest record in baseball. This was not just a sporting moment. It was a symbol of the fact that work and perseverance can break down any barriers. a symbol of the fact that a black guy from a poor southern town can stand next to, and now above, Babe Ruth himself. After the game, Hank said simply, "I'm glad this is over." There was weariness in them, but also great relief. The years of pressure, threats, constant attention were finally over. He did what seemed impossible, and from that day on, his name was forever on the same level with the greatest. After Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's record, it seemed that he had already proven everything that could be proved. But for Aaron himself, baseball remained, first and foremost, a job, which he continued to do with the same discipline and calm. He spent 2 more seasons with the Atlanta Braves. Of course, the years took their toll. The speed was no longer the same. His reactions slowed down, and the strikes stopped flying as often as before. But every time he went out on the field, thousands of people still gathered who wanted to see the legend with their own eyes. In 1975, he returned to Milwaukee, where he once began his career. There, he played out his last 2 seasons for the Milwaukee Brewers. For the fans, it was a hero's return home. Although his statistics were no longer record-breaking, each of his home runs was perceived as a holiday. In 1976, he hit his 755th home run, setting a bar that no one could reach for more than 3 decades. This number became a symbol of greatness, a measure for future generations. At the end of the 1976 season, Hank Aaron announced his retirement. Stadiums stood to say goodbye, applause did not stop, and fans cried from the realization that the man who changed baseball forever was leaving. His path in the sport lasted more than 2 decades, and during this time, he became not only a record holder, but also a model of fortitude and resilience. When Hank Aaron hung up his glove and bat, his life did not end at all. On the contrary, a new stage began. A stage where he became not only a legend of the sport, but also the voice of an entire generation. He returned to the Milwaukee Brewers, but no longer as a player, but as a club executive. Later, he worked in the management of the Atlanta Braves, helping to develop baseball, supporting young players, and opening the way for new talents. He understood perfectly well how important support is for young men who, like him, come to sports from poor neighborhoods. But perhaps his main mission was outside the stadiums. Aaron actively fought for the rights of African Americans, participated in educational programs, helped talented students with scholarships. His name became a symbol of fortitude, not only athletic but also human. 755 home runs remained an unbeaten record for more than 30 years. And when Barry Bonds surpassed his achievement in 2007, America itself was divided. Many said that for them, Hank Aaron would forever remain the true king of home runs. After all, his record was honest, hard-won, achieved without scandals and suspicions. During his life, Aaron received dozens of awards. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1982. Stadiums and streets were named after him, and his story was included in textbooks. But perhaps his greatest legacy is his inspiration. Millions of people seeing his journey understood that even if you were born poor, even if the world was against you, perseverance and self-belief can change everything. Hank Aaron passed away in 2021, but his name will always be heard. Every time the ball flies out of the stadium fence, somewhere in the hearts of fans there is an echo of his blows. A reminder of the man who did not just play baseball, but changed it forever. The story of Hank Aaron is not only the path of a great baseball player. It is the story of a man who grew up in poverty, broke through the walls of prejudice, and became a symbol of an entire era. His blows were accurate and powerful, but his character was even stronger. He proved that greatness is not measured only by the numbers on the scoreboard. Greatness is the ability to rise when the world tries to stop you. It is the ability to maintain dignity in the face of hatred and pressure. It is the willingness to move forward despite fear and fatigue. 755 home runs made him a legend, but something else made him a real hero: self-confidence, resilience, and an example for millions. For those who dream but doubt. For those who go against the odds. Hank Aaron left behind not only records but also inspiration. His name will forever remain in history as a symbol of courage, strength, and faith in a dream.